Commercially available, right? But I think the interesting thing about it is if you feel it, if you put your hand on it, it seems a little warm, but that's because we haven't finished thermal testing on it. Once we finish thermal testing, it'll be optimal. The other thing what this product doesn't have is if you look at any touch device right now, it's pretty smudgy, right? Because of your fingerprints. But we're going to put a layer of something called Easy Clean on it that'll enable it to be a lot better than that. This is how we invoke the launcher. I can show you just a couple of scenarios. There is something magical when you start taking real-world objects and trying to connect it with content, right? So, one of the things that we should do. Oh, that's what we're doing. Now, if I apply a little bit of gravity, right? So this is showing you the flexibility of the SDK. So developers now actually have the power to do some really amazing things with it.
Okay. So you can go with the two coding.
Right? So now you can think about if you start taking real-world objects and placing it on top of it, what really actually happens. You can do something, you can add a little magnetic field. Right? And wherever I move it, right? So you can think about, how we can build some really cool consumer experiences in retail businesses or banks or hospitals or whatever, right? Education is another place where. So this is just a quick example of what you do. But the beauty about this is the bank has a location and it wants people to come in. But once you come into the bank, then I can sell you specific products and services. So one of the things the bank did was, this is an actual mailer that the Royal Bank of Canada sent to the local community it was in. Typically when you do a mailer like this, the conversion rate is 2%. The Royal Bank of Canada is seeing a conversion rate right now of more than 10%. So it invites you to come and just drop the mailer onto the device, and you're entered into a sweepstakes because it's got a unique code in here, right? So the camera is able to look at the code, react, and give you an associated reaction. In this case, the person's won some money. However, now that you're in the bank and I have your attention, I want to use this as an opportunity to sell specific products and services to you. Are you a coffee drinker? How many cups of coffee do you drink? One. Okay, so it's probably like $3, right? So 4% over 16 years will give you a $2,000 tax saving. If you had a tax-free savings account, that's how much you would save. Now, this is all information the bank already has. However, they're using this new user experience to actually deliver this and have a new, more engaging conversation with the customer. One of the apps that we're going to have on there is Bing. But what we wanted to do is basically try and showcase to you what you can do with search, right? But using real-world objects. So, say for example, I was a retailer that had like a lot of inventory products. Shoes, I think, is one where you can't actually merchandise shoes in a store in a very effective way if you really wanted to show everything to somebody, right? So one of the things we're doing, it's a little, we've not completed this as yet, but the interesting thing is I put a real-world object. I look through here it's looking at the web, but you can make it look through your database of all your shoes, right? And now I can browse and look at all these shoes. But browsing is just one part of it, right? It's great to browse, but how do you make that content sticky? So with the power of tags, and with just a camera phone, if you just had a simple tag reader, the content's right there. Now think about if you can actually embed a URL for a website, then you have the full transaction. You search, you share with somebody, and then you can transact potentially. Like say this was a shoe that my partner liked and she wanted to buy it, I could potentially buy it directly from the phone, right? But it's also about saying how you can make the content sticky. So it's a cool way to search, but it's an immersive experience, right? Question. recognition. So what we're using for object recognition right now is bite-sized tags. These are just standard tags that basically different combinations you can get. However, we also understand that people already have their own loyalty cards, NFC readers, or different, personalization mechanisms in place. So for that, we've provided USB ports, so you can put whatever card reader you want, right? Because I don't think people will transform their whole, IT system to support personalization. But if you can give them the flexibility to add on like peripherals, they'll be happy to do that. And then the other thing we're focusing on is this whole concept about multi-channel marketing. What's happening is a lot of brands want people to be able to start doing things at home, but they want them to come into the store to finish the transaction. So a lot of this information is already stored in the cloud. So say this was my loyalty card, and you come into the store and you drop it there. Oops. It's a sales card. So these were the two devices that these are some of the devices that I was exploring at home. So now I come into the store and I want to ask the salesperson a couple of questions. Now if you look at it, these are pretty close in terms of like features, right? They're both 1080p, one's an LED, one's a 3D, but what's the real difference? So you come back into the store to have a more meaningful conversation with the salesperson, right? So we have something called a compare bar, where you can actually start making an apples to apples comparison of the product. Now the customer can actually make a better buying decision because he's actually comparing the same things, right? So he's making a more informed decision in terms of all the products and features. About this is it's fun, social, interactive,
right.
And people can say, and we started getting ROI numbers, which is phenomenal, right? Like think about Barclays. Barclays had a 50% increase in the sale of a single product. When it is using this for customizing their Falcon aircraft for high net worth clients, but they're also using it for the military aircraft for people to do planning and simulation.
So